We traveled for 2.5 hours
Okay.
with my dad. My dad would drive me up and down Sicily for almost 10 years
Oof.
for me to go to theatre and keep doing what I was doing. There is such thing as a small town mentality, and sometimes people can be a bit close-minded, especially when it comes to the arts. Kind of like having an artist persona made me a bit insecure as a teenager and as a child.
When you envision a relationship and your life with your family, what do you see?
Now I don't see it anymore.
What has been one of the most difficult things you've had to go through living in the UK? It doesn't have to be with music, but generally, what have you navigated with that was like a very down-breaking point? Martins. Ladies and gentlemen, we have traveled far and wide as we always do, and we stopped by in Sicily to pick up a wonderful, wonderful queen as she's about to tell us her story, and of course we are about to listen to that story. A lady that has been trained in the Theartre Massimo of Palermo with jazz, gospel, and every other type of music you can think of. Moved to London to increase her performance as she's a member of the ICMP, Institute of Contemporary Music Performance. She's also going to be performing at the Korak live music events in June. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the one, the only. In Spanish, she'll be called Manuela, but today she is Emanuela.
What an introduction!
Thank you for coming, girl. Thank you for joining us on Korak Podcast. How are you?
Thank you
good?
so much for having me. I'm really good. How are you?
I can't complain. As always, ladies and gentlemen, on the production, BK Creative.
We're in the house.
Your one and only host, now and forever, MC Sabi Boy.
More things.
And let's have a toast to the First Lady of Sicily via Palermo, now in London. There you go.
Thank you.
All right. So, we start this podcast every single time the same way. And we want people to understand your journey and eventually we'll talk about the destination of where you want to get to. But let us start with that very simple question. Korak means footsteps. And each footstep, of course, describes the journey that you're going on. Sorry, people. That wine is already getting to me. But we want to understand where it all began. So where would you say what was the first step that you took in life and in music that is leading you to where you want to get to?
So I know this is probably going to sound really cheesy.
It's fine. Cheese is good.
Cheese is good.
Yeah, cheese is good. Especially with wine. So there's not but there's cheese
pairs
and
well.
wine. Yeah, good pair.
But my mum always says that I started singing before I could talk. There are videos. There's like actual footage of me just singing my little heart out whilst something was playing on the TV at the right age of like 2 years old. I've always sung. There's always been music in the house. My parents are not musical people at all because they're both teachers. My dad used to be an engineer. Now he's a high school teacher. And my mum's always been in teaching. But they are avid music listeners. So there was always music in the house. And as I grew up, around 5 years old, I started taking singing lessons. And then the audition for the Theartre came up.
Oh, hold on 1 second. We don't want this podcast to be over in like two minutes. But so you've been singing since you were, as far back as you said, your mom said you've always been singing.
Yeah.
Your parents are avid listeners. What is the music, what's like the traditional music in Sicily?
We've got a big traditional folk music in Sicily. Very important Sicilian singer actually from my town, Licata. Her name is Rosa Balistreri. She became really famous because she was singing these very heartfelt songs about Sicily and the Sicilian culture and how women in Sicily were treated back in the 20s and the 30s. That's a figure that as children back in Sicily we learn to know and we are constantly accompanied by her music. So that's one thing, but I have drawn my inspirations from so many different places.
So what kind of music were your parents listening to? As you said, they loved their music. What kind of genres were they into, apart from the traditional folk music? And, how did that all when you, as far back as you remember, what were they into, for example?
My dad got me into Pink Floyd when I was really young.
That is into good music. That is into good music.
Yes.
So, are you an only child, or do you have
I'm
siblings?
an only child.
Oh, you're an only child.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why you're the boss. That's why you're the boss. We'll talk about why you're the boss too. So you're an only child, and they were pretty much spoiling you with a lot of good music.
Yes, definitely.
So then, as far back as you remember, too, you were singing. You've always been singing. So it was a case of we need to actually put her in a situation where she can use. So as far back as you remember, when was the first time you were exposed to like a singing world?
It was probably when I was around 5. Probably some school play or something like that, and there was a song that needed to be sung, and I started singing, and my teachers actually went to my parents and said she needs to start taking singing lessons because something's working there, something is actually there music wise. And so I started taking singing lessons, and then obviously got into classical music later on.
So were you one of those? So I was one of them annoying children that just used. I didn't used to go around singing because I would have destroyed places with my voice. But I was one of those that used to go around and just make noise and class clown. Were you the version of the one that used to go around and just sing everywhere?
I was definitely, I was the annoying theatre kid. I was that kind of child.
So so the training you had growing up, everything started gearing towards going towards the theatre because your voice is it blends with jazz, gospel, and when I saw you perform, it was very, first of all, good stage presence, which a lot of theatre trained people have because you're dancing, drama, singing. So why was it theatre that was the first? What was the first avenue? Do you remember? Why didn't they try anything else? Why was it that theatre was the first one?
The first avenue was actually pop music.
Okay.
In a way, contemporary music. Started taking like very like beginner singing lessons, and then as I was progressing, we received through another tutor in my middle school. Because I was in the school orchestra in middle school. I was doing piano. Another tutor went to my parents, and he told them that there was this audition for the kids choir in Teatro Massimo in Palermo.
I was actually scared. I wasn't sure I'd be able to pronounce that.
No, the pronunciation was perfect.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you were absolutely fine.
Don't want Italians running after me because my running days are over.
No. Actually warmed the heart. It was really good. Yeah.
Clickable moment, bro. Her heart is warm. I like it. So it's where you grew up in Sicily. You mentioned the town's name.
Licata.
Licata. So what is life in Licata like? Is it because I believe in a lot of situations that every town, depending on where you are, what you want to achieve, sometimes has like a ceiling. There's a peak point. So what was life like that even before music? What was life growing up like? Only child, your parents, and they were both teachers. I'm assuming they were a bit strict.
They were a bit strict, especially when I was really young, but things kind of started to ease up, especially when I moved out, obviously. But when I kept growing older and keep going with music, and they actually understood that it was serious, and I chose that as my career, things started to be easier. But my childhood was really happy. I had a very happy childhood. My town is gorgeous. Some of the people that I grew up next to weren't as gorgeous as the town is.
Okay.
But
that's normal everywhere.
But that's normal everywhere, yeah. I do think that there is such thing as a small town mentality, and sometimes people can be a bit close-minded, especially when it comes to the arts. So that was also something that pushed me to then move to London and explore something new and something bigger, which was a big change. But I felt like for the direction that my career was getting to, I needed to explore somewhere else. But my childhood was really happy. My family's always been so supportive of me, and my parents are generally my first fans. They try to come down to London to as many as my gigs as possible.
Are they coming for June? So it's
gonna
loads of
try
time to tell them.
There's
Book in advance, man. Book
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
Tell them there's a wonderful host. And
I
they
will.
need to come and see that guy, man.
I
And then, of course, you
will.
and everybody else.
But
Yeah.
most
Me first. Yeah.
importantly-
I mean, they've seen you all through their life, so they should be fine.
Oh yeah, they know what goes down. So
So with you being that joyful child that was singing everywhere and trying to make you, how was that? How old were you when you actually did the theatre audition?
how did I end up there?
Yeah. How old were you and how did you end up there?
So I was 9 years old, I think. Yeah, I was about 9 or 10 years old, and basically, this tutor in my middle school, he went to my parents and was like, "There's this audition, and I think Emanuela would be great for that." It was the kids' choir in the Theartre Massimo, and so we travelled. My town is not close to Palermo. Palermo is the biggest city of Sicily, and it's not close. We travelled for 2.5 hours
Okay.
with my dad. My dad would drive me up and down Sicily for almost 10 years
Oof.
for me to go to theatre and keep doing what I was doing. So I went there and I did my audition. And I remember leaving the theatre and my mum was kind of just like, always no expectations. Because, if it doesn't go well, you shouldn't be sad. You should keep singing. This doesn't end here, And she was kind of like preparing me for the fall. But it went well.
Oh, nice.
And I ended up in theatre for almost 10 years of my life until that I finished high
10
school.
years from when you were 9.
When I was 9 to, just about 18.
So how would you mix in what I would call normal life for those of us that don't sing? So if you did theatre for 10 years, and I'm assuming there were different theatre shows that you did.
Yeah.
Did you have to keep auditioning, or were you just, oh, she's amazing, and then you end up in another theatre, or you had to go with more auditions?
So we were usually doing a lot of concerts, and the shows that were more like in front of a paying audience as a choir, those were regular shows that we would do just because we were in the choir. But for the operas and the proper on stage shows, you would have needed to audition. So my choir director would pitch me for several auditions, and I got a few soloist spots, and I got a few shows in.
How were you balancing this with like normal life? Well, I mean, 'cause obviously school had to continue.
Yeah.
How was this? And I remember you said your dad was driving you everywhere. Him being a teacher, how was it? How did life just be with going from audition to performance, audition performance? How was that balanced? And what else did you do with your life other than just singing?
Basically, I did not really have a social life while I was in theatre.
Okay.
Because if you consider travel time and the time I would spend in theatre, all the time that I was not in school, I would spend either in the car or in theatre. The balance, if I think about it now, if I look back at it, I'm like, that was insane. That was crazy for a teenager,
Yeah.
for a
So was life very
child.
routine? Like, wake up, read, do this, do that, go perform. Was life very?
It was
Like
quite
regimented.
scheduled. It was quite scheduled because I would schedule my life according to the schedule of the shows, to the schedule of the rehearsals, theatre, and my life was very much revolving around it, which I loved. But then growing up, I started to experimenting with other genres that was not classical, so jazz and gospel, as you said rightfully, and started writing my music and figured out that was a chapter of my life. It was not just that, and
So
I was
what-
evolving.
When you think about it now, when you go back and think about it now, what are the happy points are you got to sing, you got to perform in front of a crowd, you traveled, you spent a lot of time with your dad, clearly. And but if you think about it now, are there any pain points? Is there anything you felt that you missed with all that routine and regimented life?
I would miss on a lot of events and things that would be normal for a teenager, I think. Going out, staying out late, especially in a small town. I have always been really careful with my voice because my voice is my instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some some friendships that had to end sometimes because they would not understand why I would not spend that much time with them. But I've always prioritized music, and that's been the leitmotif of my life, really. Now I still do it. I do it in a different way because I do it with my schedule and different rules. But back then definitely I think I have missed out on some.
You haven't missed out on anything. Don't you worry. As teenagers, what we doing? Thinking we know everything and drinking
That's
more
also
of the
really
wine.
true.
Yeah. You didn't
That
miss
I
out
still
anything.
do.
You didn't miss out anything. And besides, we were talking about this before we started recording, that you being a big heartbreaker. We understand that you didn't miss out much. The only thing you missed out was breaking more hearts, which is fine. Which is fine. We don't need too many broken hearts. However, when did the exposure to you started? You seem like the music situation started with theatre and a specific type of music, and then of course you started listening to jazz and gospel. Where did that exposure come from, and how did you decide? Okay, this is something else I want to do.
It kind of like went hand in hand with my formation in theatre, because as we grow up, obviously our voices drop. It's more drastic for men, but also for women, our voices change in a different way, but it still does change. So our choir director would stop pitching us for, would stop pitching us for the classical shows and start introducing us to jazz and gospel, which would be more adaptable to our voices and the change that our voices was facing. So you would have from 7 to 13, 14 years old, that would be the classical sort of like basic formation. And then growing up, we would be brought into jazz, gospel, musical theatre, exploring different genres and doing different sort of shows. So that was another big chunk of my formation that came from 15 to 18 to then me moving completely into contemporary.
So when you think about this now, when did you start songwriting?
Started songwriting during lockdown, so between 17 and 18 years old.
So at that point, you hadn't written any song before?
No.
And then what was so you moved to, how old are you when you moved to England?
I was 18. It was just after the first lockdown.
After the first lockdown, okay.
September 2020.
So there were plans to already move?
Yeah.
And apart from the obvious in terms of chasing your musical career, I asked you this before in terms of a ceiling being in Italy. Being an only child, what was that like? Did you tell your parents, okay, see ya, bye, I ain't coming back?
No.
Or was this something they already knew was going to happen?
I think they knew I was going to leave home. I think the plan changed, obviously, during lockdown, so the months of February, March of 2020, when I started writing my music. I was like, okay, this is bringing me a lot of joy. I think I have to do it in the UK, because I started browsing for music colleges and music schools. And in fact, I went to college first. I did 2 years in college here, and then I went to ICMP. But they kind of always knew I was going to leave the town, potentially going to live in Palermo and continuing with the classical formation, maybe get into the choir, the official choir, not the kids' choir anymore. But then the plans changed when songwriting started bringing me a new sort of joy that I had never experienced before.
So before we talk about what used to inspire you in songwriting, so what's that transition like? Do you know people that have gone from the children's choir to the main choir? And then after that, what is the transition? Do you go on your own? Do you become a single songwriter? How do you grow let's say you decided to stay in Sicily, what would have been the transition? So child choir, adult, then what? So
the adult choir is a job, is a full-time job. For us it would be, obviously, because we were minors, we were children, for us it would be something in between a big passion and a job. When there were shows, we were on a 0-hour contract.
Yeah.
But after some time, after 18, then you are actually asked if you do want to get the audition for the big choir.
Oh, so you still have to audition?
Yeah, you would have to audition.
Is there like a space? Because clearly if you get in, you have to kick somebody out.
People keep going in and out because maybe then some people get contracts in other theatres, they get a new agency, because that's how it works in theatre. You get an agency and you kind of go on tour, or you just are positioned and placed somewhere else, especially in Europe. I think in Vienna or Berlin, obviously the classical scene is huge. So people travel a lot in classical music. So there's always auditions. I think it's roughly every 3 years there's a new generation that comes in, and so after you get there, then you keep auditioning, keep getting solo shows and doing the same thing that we used to do when we were children, but
you did this.
You're a grown-up.
So in this period, you mentioned certain friends that you had to say goodbye to and all that. Who was Emanuela when she wasn't auditioning and she was hanging out with friends? Did you, apart from the fact that you had a priority to save your voice and music, what were you like with people?
I think being in theatre and being in classical and always kind of like having an artist persona made me a bit insecure as a teenager and as a child. So I had a lot of fear of missing out. Despite I really loved what I was doing in music and classical, I was always constantly chasing friends and chasing connections, but realizing that not everyone could really understand what I was going through and the upbringing that I had. So I had a time of my life where I was not really thinking about what I was doing, and I had this big rebel face of like, no, it's how I want it.
What was your rebellion face like? Because some people get like tattoos and piercings.
Oh no, I got my
alcohol.
tattoos here.
Oh, okay. So what was your rebel face like? Just, I'm gonna drink sparkling water. Or something. what was your rebellion face like?
I would not really listen to my parents' advices, and this was something that kind of got me into some situations, hanging out with the wrong people, hanging out with people who are older than me, and that would not really understand the kind of person that I was. But obviously, as you said, when we're teenagers, we think we know everything, and I thought I knew everything.
Don't worry. So it happens. You're not the only one that it happens to. And who would you say you're closer to, your mom or your dad?
I would say both.
Who would you say you're like, though? Who would you say you're a bit like?
I'm definitely more like my dad.
Okay. That's good. Because usually I hear if you're the parent that you're more like, that's the one you argue with the most. So who did you argue with the most?
Definitely my dad.
Yeah. I can see two of you in the car, trying to change into, and then he just shouts.
Most arguments happen in the car because we were
'cause
just spending so much time into that car. It just was bound to happen.
It became friendship. Drive properly, eyes on the road or something.
So
your first song, when you decided you could write music, what's that like actually? So you've been loving music for so long. How did you then go from having the thoughts of joyful singing to actually penning down words? How do you remember that first song you wrote? What was it about, and how did it just come to you?
The first song was really an experiment. I think lockdown kind of like brought me into watching a lot of YouTube and a lot of biopics and a lot of documentaries about singers that I used to admire. I remember watching something about Billie Eilish, and I got really inspired. But I've always been inspired by other artists. Amy Winehouse is one of my biggest inspiration as well, and her story. So I thought, let's try and give it a go. And I got Logic Pro on my laptop, and I was like, okay, let's do something with it. And it was really an experiment. It was a mishmash of words that if I look back at it, I'm like, oh my God. But at the same time, I forgive myself because it's the first song ever. But I remember experimenting so much with the AWs, and then I got my first MIDI keyboard, and I just went crazy with sounds, went crazy with different chords and arpeggiators and all sorts of things, and that would bring me such a thrill and so much joy. And I was like, okay, maybe this is what I want to do. Maybe this is where I want to continue my music journey.
So you were pretty much teaching yourself how to produce your own music, and you were writing your own stuff. A lot of people come with the angle of writing through experience and all that. So you you did college in London first, and then you decided, and now you're in ICMP.
Yeah.
So everybody goes through, I'm assuming, culture shock when you come here. Things are so different. As always in England, the weather. So now that you literally came to England as an adult, pretty much, 18, you can go to war and all that stuff. What was that like in terms of still understanding that music was number one priority, but then how was life for you moving to a new country and trying to discover how it is you could make with music?
It was really interesting. It was a lot of adjustment that I had to do. Especially because, 18, I thought I could grab the world in my hand. But if I look back, I was a child.
Why did you want to grab the world, the entire world?
The entire
You
world.
didn't even start with the town. You grabbed the entire world. Why did you want to grab the entire world in your hand? Ambitious.
I thought I could literally do everything at the ripe age of 18, but I look back at myself when I was 18. I was a baby. I did not know anything, and I'm so happy that I've made that decision. I'm so happy of how I've done things in a way, because I moved here mid-pandemic, and it was shocking already. Because I remember the first time I went to London, it was when I was 11. And I remember loving Camden. I was here with my parents. I remember loving Camden and how vibrant it was. I went back to Camden in October of 2020, and it was a desert. It was dead, empty. And that was shocking. It was shocking because it was another culture, another language. I could speak English, but not as I speak it now, obviously, because I've perfected just the way I speak English and the way I've got to know the British culture.
You actually speak English like somebody that you speak English like you are an English person but grew up in Italy.
Oh, interesting.
You have that clarity in terms of how I speak English.
I do speak a lot with my hands, as you may have seen.
It's good, and it's the clarity on the words, as you may have seen. but it's all good. It's all good. So. You picked up English, different world. Pandemic, it's hard to believe pandemic was like 5 years ago. I mean, we still talk about it like it was yesterday, but it's I think it was a very pivotal moment in people's lives, I guess. So you got here, did college. So now that you're in a new place, you're chasing music, and obviously you do gigs now.
Yeah.
But how did the gigging start? Especially not really knowing that many people, and how did you start pushing yourself out there?
Gigging started because at that point I had so many songs that I've written during college, and we've done a gig with my college back in Hoxton, because college was in Hoxton, East London. So basically my college rented a place just for us to have a showcase. I was like, oh, this is really cool. People are clapping and singing my songs. I love it. So I started just going online and looking for promoters, found someone who was renting a few venues in London, and I got in touch with them. And so gigging started with me and a little pen drive with all my backing tracks, which was basically just my productions minus my vocals. So that's how it started. It was just me. And then I went to ICMP and developed the project with other people that are still in my team.
Yeah, I remember meeting you for the first time. You you seem like you have a good foundation and a good support of people around you, which is good. You have your own session band, which you work with, and things are progressing and growing. In terms of your music writing, so I think your first album was in 2022, right?
It was actually an EP that I released in 2021, and then decided to expand that, kind of like did a few steps back, re-recorded some songs, added new ones, and then re-released it at the beginning of 2022. Yes.
So one of the reasons I was asking a lot of questions when it came to, your songwriting, what motivated you. So I believe that album in 2022 was called Late Night Thoughts.
Yes.
What were you thinking about, please? What had clouded your mind so much you had to release an entire album that was called Late Night Thoughts?
Late Night Thoughts. I started writing songs for this album during the lockdown, really. And I found myself writing a lot at night. That's basically when it comes.
You couldn't sleep?
I am a massive insomniac. I've struggled.
You
with
said that like we should be proud of it. I am a massive insomniac.
I'm not. But it's part of my being. I don't sleep. You can ask any of my friends. They know that I will be awake for most of the night.
I mean, I only know two friends I have, Luke and Vinny. I'll ask them.
You should ask them.
I'll see. First of all, what's Luke doing in your bed? That's the question. But then Vinny might know. But fine, I'll ask them and see what happens. So have you always been an insomniac? Or?
I started struggling with insomnia when I was 16, when things with theatre kind of like got more intense. And I would finish a show at like midnight, started travelling back to Licata. It was 2 a.m. at that point.
You didn't sleep in the car? I mean, Daddy was driving.
I couldn't. I kind of like got into a loop of an extraordinary amount of caffeine in my system and just pushing through. And so I struggle a lot with sleeping, but at this point my brain just wakes me up at 8:30, even on a bank holiday, even on Christmas Day. I was awake very early. I love being an early bird.
Even if you don't sleep that much.
Yeah, I just my body and my brain at that, like, it's like my, how do they call it? Like the biological clock. It's set to not getting more than 5 hours of sleep at night.
Regardless, even if you go partying and all that, are you one of those that just like boom, you're up at 5?
Yeah, I'm 8:30 is my usual time. 8:30 in the morning, I'll be awake. If I need to be awake in the night, I will also be awake.
So, do you play any instruments?
I play piano and guitar to the extent of being able to accompany myself.
Okay, cool.
Would not consider myself an instrumentalist.
So, Late Night Thoughts, which is your first album, and of course you have an album in 2024, which is You Had It Coming.
You Had It Coming.
I mean, that title tells us everything. You had it coming. It seems like you were telling one person that you had it coming, but we'll get into that. Generally, though, moving to the UK is home now. Yeah. And as you mentioned, your parents come and visit you. What has been one of the most difficult things you've had to go through living in the UK? It doesn't have to be with music, but generally, what have you navigated with that was like a very down-breaking point?
Having to watch my nan getting older and not being able to spend as much time as I want to with her. And same thing, having to watch my little cousin growing up and not being able to be there for her when she got her heart broken for the first time. Now she's 15. But we were like sisters.
She's 15 now? Yeah. When did she get her heart broken then?
Very recently.
At 15, do you actually have a well-formed heart? I'm confused.
Apparently you do.
Is this one of them things that, I mean, one of the stereotypes that Italians are very, they have this love is in the air. It's very strong relationships and all that. And is it different for people that are from Sicily? Is it like different?
Oh no, we are so warm and so loving.
This is what, the women or just
no,
everybody?
men as well. Yeah.
The men.
No. We
I've
are
seen Gatu, so he doesn't look very loving, but that's one guy. But yeah,
no. We are very warm people, and we do take family really seriously. We do take relationships really seriously. We take emotions in general really seriously. Italians in general, we are warm and loving.
oh, hey guys, sorry to interrupt your episode. I hope you can please subscribe, hit that notification button so we can get more and wonderful, incredible guests and you can continue to listen to the Korak Podcast. Till then, more thanks. Go back to the episode. So this emotion, does it flow, so with your music and when you're putting music on, writing songs, trying to get the band together, I mean, you did say you're a little boss.
Tiny boss.
Are you one of those that like, you want everything to be perfect, you want it to work, you're like...
Some might say I am a bit of a control freak in that sense.
Okay.
But I like to plan in advance, and my band knows and my team knows.
And now we know.
And now everyone knows on the Korak podcast. But they know how I do things, and they've embraced it because I treat them as my chosen family. As I said, like, we take family really seriously, and I do treat my friends and my band, because they are, most importantly, not only my band, but they are also my friends. I treat them as family. There are the boundaries, and we all know our roles within the professional collaboration, but there's a lot of love and there's a lot of understanding and there's mutual respect always. So that's how I like to do things, and I like that they have started putting very early on in my career. They've put their trust and their talent and their time into what is my music and what is my art and my vision, and for that I will forever be grateful.
What is the vision?
The vision is bringing everyone actually into my universe, and
that is a big universe right there.
And it's a big one.
Okay.
It's a big one.
And what would we see in that universe, in everybody's universe? What would we see when we come into your world? What would we see?
We see. I like to paint a scenario in each one of my songs, and I like to express my emotions and treat songwriting as a form of therapy, so that I can reorganize my thoughts and my feelings and my strong emotions. But in the way I do, I like to think that there's going to be at least one person who can relate to the way I speak about my own emotions and the way I embrace my feelings. And if there's going to be at least one person that's going to think, oh my God, she's been through that as well, I'm going through that, that means that that's my job done. That means that person has found their own little space in my universe.
So you've mentioned and discussed your emotions in a professional way, in a non-professional way. In terms of emotions, I mean, emotions are plenty. There's anger, there's love, different types. He's smiling.
So many.
Different types. So, in other words, you wear your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah.
And when you give in everything, you part everything. And this probably happens in romantic relationships and all that stuff. Have you ever been in a situation where you have given too much emotion?
Definitely.
What would you describe as too much emotion?
Too much. I would love to describe this with a quote from one of my favorite artists,
Okay.
Taylor Swift.
All right. Taylor Swift has good quotes. Okay, I'm about to find out. Sorry.
Taylor Swift says, "Never be too kind, you forget to be clever. And never be too clever, you forget to be kind." Okay. Too much emotion, to me, is when you completely erase yourself for someone else and forget to be kind to yourself and forget your own worth just because you are trying to absolutely be there for someone else and to potentially save someone else that does not need saving and does not want saving.
So one of the things, never be too kind that you forget to be clever, and never be too clever you forget to be kind. So where's the middle ground?
The middle ground, I think, is trying to find the balance between kind and clever, between self-protection and self-worth and unconditional love. I think there has to be a line.
If you end up being in situations where you feel you have to save somebody, what then actually happens when the person is saved?
When the person is saved...
Or if the person actually gets saved? Because the relationship and that situation will probably end because you come to find out this person cannot be saved, doesn't want to be saved, and I've given too much of myself. In a situation where you actually save somebody, what then happens?
That means that we can carry on in our path on parallel lines and keep working towards something that we see together, I think.
Do you ever think you have needed to be saved?
Probably. I had, most definitely I had my moments.
Were you saved?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Then why didn't both of you continue in the path?
Sorry?
Why didn't both of you continue in the path?
Oh, we did, because
Okay.
I was saved by the people who still surround me.
Okay.
And my parents, and it was a good balance between external help and external support and somehow hitting rock bottom and resurfacing because there's nothing to be hit anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So you can only
Once you
go
hit rock
back up.
bottom, you either scatter and spread, or you find your way.
Yeah, or piece it back together and go back up.
So it was that bad that you had to hit rock bottom?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, considering the fact that you're trying not to talk about it, is there, when you pinpoint it now, was there a particular reason you hit rock bottom? Did you realize that I'm finished here, I've given everything I could give, and...
I did think there was a moment I thought, this is it, and as you said, I've given everything, and I've got nothing else to give.
What does everything actually mean? What did you give?
Too much of my trust, and too much of myself.
What do you give normally? Before you give too much, what do you give normally?
Now I've learned, because I've learned from my mistakes, and I try to protect myself, and I try to, in a way, study people and understand what level of trust I can give. And that is a way for me to protect myself and to avoid any more mistakes.
What level of trust would you give Blessing? Now that you've met Blessing, I mean...
You've got all my trust, because I've got a camera on myself and you set it up. So I am trusting you a lot with this.
You're probably watching Netflix or something. Not even focusing on you, like watching Netflix.
Listen, I'm actually stalking her like what you do.
No, I don't stalk. I research.
Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it
Okay,
research.
But stalking sounds better. Is it?
Yeah, stalking is intentional, but at the same time...
It's to learn.
Yes, to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's educational stalking. That's
Thank
what
you.
we're calling
Exactly.
it.
It's
Thank you very much.
research,
That's
as you
what
said.
we got what's it called? Copyright that under Korak.
I like it.
Educational stalking.
Educational stalking. Yeah, put that on the T-shirt, people.
Yeah.
Put that-
Exactly.
Educational stalking.
Well, it's good. I think in a lot of situations, but you've been through that situation. You say you hit rock bottom. I'm assuming this had to do with you and a guy, or a girl. I don't know.
It was a mixture of reasons, stemmed from a relationship that didn't end well. Barely started. It was a whole thing, but then it kind of like got me to do a lot of self-reflection and self-loathing, and kind of like threw me in the deep end because I thought I had lost my self-worth, and I'd lost myself during that process, and songwriting and writing songs helped me so
nice.
much.
I mean, you did mention that your music is like a therapy, and it's one of the things that you want to push your experience.
Definitely.
Which you take us straight into what we call lyrical deep dive.
Ooh,
Where we
let's do
try
this.
to, because clearly as we have educational stalking into your music and learning stuff and making sure. So from your two albums, of course, you had Late Night Thoughts, which is a wonderful album, has good songs. Hands of Glass is a very good song.
Thank you.
And then in 2024, you released an album, which is You Had It Coming,
Yes.
which your two big singles, Boy Like You, Enemy. which
Yes.
if you listen to those songs, it's pretty much you telling some guy something. However,
I'm telling them that they had it coming.
okay, they had it coming. Okay, all right, there's more than one. I like
Gave
it.
a bit too much away.
I mean, we've been doing a podcast for a while. We have good ears. We listen. We listen properly. But when we go into the lyrical deep dive, is an understanding of your lyrics and what the message you wanted to do. And what I usually do is pick the songs that hit me the most. And hit me meaning, wow, this is a good song. So the first song I'm picking is I Hope You're Doing Well. And it starts with, how was your day? I know you've been serving drunk men easy money. How was your day? I just cried in bed since you went away and smoked too many cigarettes. And I know you don't like that. But that's in the past, isn't it? Isn't it funny how we broke our backs in the name of what we used to call love? Or maybe that was just me. Are you okay? I keep wondering till the day I take my last breath. Are you okay with this? With calling me a stranger? With the plans we made, but you threw it all away? I would have taken your last name and built a house for the memories we didn't make. But you knew it all the way and put me through excruciating pain to chase what you thought was comfort and care. So, I mean, it's one of them songs that when you listen to the lyrics, that, oh yeah, it's self-explanatory, but still, we could explain it as much as we can, but we didn't go through that experience. I just cried in bed since you were away and smoked too many cigarettes. You were smoking?
It's actually, it's just a literary mean. I actually wasn't.
No, I'm just checking.
No, but I actually wasn't. I kind of pictured myself in the most self-destroying way possible. So I thought, yeah, definitely smoking would be self-destroying for me.
Who was the bartender? You or him?
Sorry?
Who was the bartender? You or him?
He was.
Okay. All right. And you would have taken his last name?
Yes.
When you envision a relationship and your life with a family, what do you see?
Now I don't see it anymore.
You don't?
Not for now. Not for now.
You don't see it anymore, or you don't see it with anyone? Because those are two different things.
I think I haven't found another person yet.
That doesn't stop you from seeing it, though. You can see it with a shadow, and then when somebody comes, they can replace the shadow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the shadow is there.
Okay, so what do you see with the shadow? What would you want it to be is the question.
I would probably want this shadow to be a person that could understand completely that music would always be my top priority. And after we've established that, then we can think about bigger personal plans.
But
So-
how do you, sorry, real quick.
No worries.
Would you ever expect somebody to love you in that same way, in terms of understanding that you have a love for music that kind of defeats everything else? Would you be happy to go into a relationship knowing that someone has something that they love above everything else, and they can almost never be that number one? Like, how would that make you feel as a person?
I think if someone loved me and loved something else in the way that I loved music, I would be as understanding as possible, because I know how it feels to love something the way I love music. So I would want this to be mutual. I would want this to be equal.
And do you feel like maybe because you haven't found someone that's equal with, that has been a problem for you? Or do you feel like it hasn't been a problem?
No, it's not. It's not a problem for me. At this point, in my romantic life, I just let things be and see what happens, really. I just like to focus on the music as much as I can and see where it takes me, because it's given me some of the best people I know. So I don't know who's going to bring me in my future as well.
It's interesting the question you ask in terms
It's really interesting. It's a good question.
in terms of people accepting their place. Would say because she's made it clear that music is her number one, right? And one of the things you said was if you might find somebody that their number one is you. So now I say you might find somebody that their number one is you and it's nothing else, where your number one is music. So some people might accept that, yeah, I know she loves music, but I'm happy that she loves me. And some people be like, no, I want to be number one. So at that point, it is, do you accept, is it a break, is it a red flag if somebody says, no, I have to be number one?
It just means that our priorities don't align. And
of course they don't align. He's never going to love music the way you do.
Oh,
Unless he's, I don't know,
something else, yeah.
Timberland or somebody. Unless it's somebody that's into the music already.
But I think for me to be able to think about big plans, like in that song, there has to be an understanding of this person saying, okay, I respect, for the way I love you, I respect the fact that music is always going to be your priority.
She's not talking about me, people. She's just talking generally. I was talking generally, just in case. Just in case. Are you okay with this? Calling me a stranger with the plans we made, but you threw it all away. How did they throw it all away?
Without getting too specific.
We like specifics, but without getting too specifics, yep, I'm listening.
Without getting too specific, it was a very sudden change of heart that stemmed from fear of the future. But now that I've grown out of the situation and I get to look behind, I also understand the background and the reasons why this person has done what they've done, because fear is something that is within us and sometimes we can't control it, but we are, as humans, we are ever changing, and it's okay. And I've learned, and through You Had It Coming, I've learned to forgive the people around me and forgive the people around me for their mistakes, but also forgive myself and put in everything under a new light and a new perspective.
You had to stay in my arms, but what you did was running away. Is that you saying or you clarifying?
I think it's me screaming it within a song. But as that song was written the night of the big breakup. And looking back at it, I think it didn't really need to be that big and dramatic, but it was, and it made both of us grow. And
You still friends?
Yeah.
That's good. That's mature.
It took a while, but we're still friends.
That's good. That's good. That's a good song. I like the way, and then it ends with you actually asking, oh, besides, if you wanted to find, if you're wondering how I am, I'm fine.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. What if he come? Is he? Well, clearly was a bartender. Does he sing and write as well? Because he might have like a song that he's thinking of for the reply or something.
Oh no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think he does.
Okay, cool. Just checking. Yeah, check. So that you said you wrote that song on the night of the breakup. So that was you like literally just letting everything pour.
Yes.
And most of your songs, the ones you write from experiences with different things, do they come to you just as the moment is happening, or do you take some time to get the experience written down?
Some of them, like I Hope You're Doing Well, it came to me really naturally. I just sat at my keyboard and started playing something that was in the key of D, and I just let it flow and I started recording, and the words kind of came naturally. Some other songs, I kind of like first think of a melody or think of a rhythm, and then I would, because I'm constantly writing poems and writing lyrics, and then when I've got the right musical inspiration, I adapt the lyrics to the music, and I get them to marry each other.
I like it. It is, and then it goes on to, this is my favorite song of
Thank you.
your entire catalog, Haunted House. It's and this is deep. If you think how are you doing is deep, this is like deep. And I had to fly away, putting my soul on my head. I will play dice with the devil, and don't care if I lose at all, cause this voice has been taking control of my mind for so long. And I know that I should take it slow, but I won't stop till I'll sing my last goodbye. Life makes plans for us, and you don't know. Could have gone worse. Could have written it down. And I'll remember this until I die, because when my heartbeat drops, it's like a haunted house. But first of all, man, see, when I go into this lyrics thing, man, so I imagine myself writing these songs. However, I don't think I would say I'll remember it till I die. Playing dice with the devil, that game must have been very dangerous. Playing dice with the devil. Well, what is this about? Because this is not as, what's the voice that was taking over your mind?
This song is another. This is actually a song that I like to call the big sister, because this is some sort of twin song. It's a continuation of a song that's called Late Night Thoughts, and it started as a monologue of me kind of thinking about where this music and where this career was going to take me. And there's a lot of fear of the future. There's a lot of not knowing what the future will unravel, which is human and normal. But when you are in a situation and you think about it, in a way, I just needed to let it out. So wrote Late Night Thoughts, and I was really young when I wrote Late Night Thoughts, and then when I've grown up, this is kind of like the grown-up version of it. It's me kind of saying like, okay, I am still really scared, but I'm embracing it. So I say playing dice with the devil is a metaphor to say I will risk it. I'm willing to risk it for this music and this career. Don't know where it's going to take me, but I know that music is going to be in my life forever. And
if you don't know what the future holds, why don't you play dice with an angel or something? Why are you playing it with the devil? I don't get it, but it's understandable. A lot of the things that you have mentioned today is the fear of the future and us being human. Do you actually embrace and enjoy the present?
I am
Or are
now.
you already constantly steady thinking of what will happen in the future?
I am doing it now.
You're learning to do it, or?
I am fully doing it now. I've learned to do it throughout last year. Was not doing it at all a couple of years ago.
So you were always playing chess. You had like the move in front, thinking what's going to happen there. Where do you think this comes from? Is this like?
I think it's just. It sounds silly, but I think it's just the way I have always taken this career and this as a job, and I've always been serious about it. And
This is way more than a job, Emanuela. It's your number one love.
It's the
on
love
camera.
of my life.
We have you saying it. It's number one. It's way beyond being a job.
It's the love of my life. Music. I like to think that music has chosen me. I didn't choose to do this.
There we go. We have our caption. There you go. It's there. We have a caption.
But as artist, I think it's really easy, and I've done it, and I used to be like that. It's really easy to fall into it stops being ambition, it becomes unhealthy obsession. You get to somewhere and then you don't enjoy your achievement because you're immediately thinking about the next one and the next big thing. And
does that come from having too many options, do you think? Because it's something we have as humans, paradox of choice. Because you have way too many options, you always think there's something better as you move forward. So
I think it might come from that. It might also come from the natural pressure that we as humans and as creatives specifically, we put over ourselves.
I don't have any pressure.
Well, that's good though.
Yeah,
But I am starting, and I have finally found my balance. I try to enjoy the journey, and I've been doing it more and more and more and more now.
Korak, that's right. And then it says, "'Cause I am a woman of my world, and I bleed every month, and I'm still alive.
Still alive.
And it's funny, you can't put any effort and step away from your pride doesn't make you stronger than me. Were you still worried about the future, or is this to somebody else now?
This is another metaphor in terms of saying I am here in this body that's been given me, and as a woman I find the strength to keep going with my life despite the fact that as women we do have to bleed every month, and we still carry on with our lives, and somehow some people don't seem to see how strong women can be, and how much strength we have to put in our everyday lives sometimes. So there's a little way of me celebrating women, because I do think that as humans we need to be celebrated because we are wonderful human beings.
I know. That's why I'm lesbian. I like women.
Oh, come on.
Well, I mean, those two songs are the ones that grip me the most. And ladies and gentlemen, the album is there. You can listen to it.
Thank
and
you.
It's very good songs. Deep dive into understanding the experiences you go through and putting that through music, which is wonderful. Well, this is the part where BK Creative himself will ask you more educational stalking questions.
Wow.
My first question to you is, you put your heart on your sleeve in your music, and it's evident. Do you ever feel like that could be a hindrance to your personal life? Because your life is obviously you're putting it out in an artistic way, but your life is out there for people to know, to understand. They know you've been through a breakup. They know you've had this go on. Do you ever feel like that might hinder you from growing proper connections out of people having fear that they might end up as the muse of a song?
Well, if people don't want me to write songs about them, they shouldn't do bad things.
Like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Like Taylor
But then,
Swift.
for example, like we were saying off camera, no one intentionally goes into something, well, unless they're evil, goes into something thinking, I'm going to break this person's heart. I would like to think that the human race, we are kind enough to think, if I like somebody and I can see something, I want to explore it. They don't go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to break her heart. So in that, would that not bring fear to people?
That could, but I also do think that it's important to treat music as music. As music is art, and it's art for art's sake in a way, and it's literally just the way I let myself go and I let my emotions go, and I like to think that people who know me manage to separate in a way the woman from the artist, because it's true, I am completely vulnerable and completely exposed in my songs, but it's still just music. And one of the main reasons why I do it is that, as I was saying, I'd like people to find themselves in my songs, and to find their space within my rage, my pain, my happiness, my joy, or whatever I'm expressing in that songs.
And then in that, you just said that people that you know can separate the woman from the artist, but are you able to separate the woman from the artist?
Not always, but I've learned and managed to do it in most situations. But my music sometimes does speak for me.
Amazing.
Do you feel, I mean, following on from that, does that put, so let's say in 2 years' time, I see you and I'm, oh my God, I think I'm falling for her. But I know this whole story now. Do you think anybody in that kind of situation, do you think you automatically apply some sort of pressure to the relationship? Because what you're saying is, not pressure in it, but what you're saying is, look, if we're doing this, I'm throwing everything into it. So would you say that's some sort of pressure? and knowing that if this doesn't work, there's a song coming for you. So there's a pressure.
I think people know at this point that if that doesn't work, it's going to be a song. But on a serious note, I don't think that there's that much pressure, in the sense that I don't put that pressure on myself anymore as well. Now, if I do go into just like a new friendship, any sort of personal relationship, I learn to keep something for myself unless I gain complete trust. And that way I protect myself and I put less pressure on the person that I'm interfacing myself with.
So far, with the woman that you are now, and with everything going the way it is, the music, what's been your biggest down moment?
My biggest down moment? Definitely beginning of 2023 was not fun. Because I went through that big breakup that then led to me being really, really unwell. And kind of just like spiraling down, but managed to put myself back up, managed to build more strong connections, and realize that I am truly surrounded by love in all of the forms that you could possibly think that love has. I've got it, and I've got it in my life, and I'm really happy about it, because I've got a strong network and a strong safety net around me. So I think 2 years ago, like today, I was not in my happiest place.
Well, at least you're making progress, not perfection, and you're hopefully getting more and more into a happy place.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Emanuela, thank you very much. This has
Thank
been
you.
insightful, understanding the woman and the musician, and knowing when to separate both of them. And you actually got Blessing asking. This is the first time Blessing hasn't asked anybody what the idea of success is.
Yeah,
So
true.
this is
It's true.
you made the man go deep, asking you about stuff.
Don't tell anyone else.
No, don't tell. Emanuela is breaking records today,
I know,
man.
right? I
She's
know.
breaking records. Well, we have thank you, as I said. Your story has been wonderful. Emanuela will be performing at the Korak Live Music Event 6, June 26. People, get your tickets. We have a closing tradition in this podcast, and who would you recommend to come on the Korak podcast, and why? Just look at the camera and tell them.
I would say anyone who's a creative and wants
Oh
people.
no, you have to say a specific person.
Thank you
a
very much.
specific
Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
sorry.
So you have to think of who comes to your head, and I'm like, that person would be great for this podcast and the Korak experience.
An artist that I've been obsessed with, and she's also in my uni. Her name is Victoria Dell. So Victoria, if you're watching me, pop a message to Korak Events, because you'd be great.
Oh, don't worry,
You'd be
Jay's
great
already
for this.
started stalking.
Sorry?
Since you said the name, Jay's already started educational stalking.
definitely,
So it's okay.
definitely. You have
She'll
to check
get a
Victoria
message
out.
I'm coming for you, Victoria. Den.
Victoria she's great. She's a great musician. She's a great person. You'd have a great time here. You'd have an absolutely great time here.
There you go, Victoria. We shall reach out, or you can reach out to us. Emanuela, thank you very much. It's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure, and keep doing what you're doing. And as you always say, and when you're just about to start your events, my job is to entertain you, and your job is to be entertained, and I'm sure people will continue to be entertained with that lovely voice. Ladies and gentlemen, Emanuela.
Thank you.
Of course, as always, goodbye for now from BK Creative.
I'll see you guys in the next one.
And from me, people, your one and only MC Sabi Boy, I hope you have been entertained. More times.